Hi, this is Miss Cairo. This is math lesson 4-4. And in today's lesson, we are going to be using three different methods to multiply two-digit numbers by each other. So as you'll see on my screen, it says multiply a two-digit number by a two-digit number. Use the same problem for each method. So the first one that we have been practicing and learning about is the place value sections. Today, we're going to learn and practice how to solve using place value rows, as well as the shortcut method. So there'll be three different methods in which you can solve multiplication problems. You are going to be required to master all three methods. But as we get more and more practice in, once you have mastered all three, it's going to be up to you which method you'd like to use when solving problems going forward. Okay, so let's get started. Let's do a little bit of a review with place value sections, and also I'm going to introduce place value rows with you. We're going to do one multiplication sentence two different ways, and we're going to compare the two methods to each other. So all you need right now is just your whiteboard. And if you don't have your whiteboard, problem solve, get a piece of paper out. We're going to solve the same multiplication sentence using two different methods. Okay, so get your whiteboard ready. At the very top, here's the multiplication sentence. It's 43 times 67. And underneath the multiplication sentence, we're basically going to be splitting our whiteboard down the middle into two parts. So get your marker and as even as possible, split your whiteboard into two parts. And on the left-hand side, I'd like you to write out place value sections. And then on the other side, write out place value rows. So one method here is the place value sections, and the other way we're going to solve is using the method place value rows. All right, does yours look like mine? Let's do some review. Let's solve using the place value sections method in which we've been practicing the last few lessons. So this requires a fairly large rectangular figure. So go ahead and draw that out, but leave a little bit of room because we are going to be doing some addition underneath. And remember, with place value sections, we're going to take both of the factors and we're splitting them up in by their place values. So on the side, let's split 43 up into its place values. That 4 represents, well, 4 is in the tens place, so it represents 40. So on the side, please write out 40 plus, and 3 is in the one spot, that represents just 3 ones. So 40 plus 3 equals 43. And then at the top, let's split 67 into place values. That 6 represents 60 since it's in the 10 spot. And then we have 7 ones. So we'll add plus 7. And 60 plus 7, in fact, equals 67. All right. And now what I like to do is I like to find my addition symbols, and I like to split my place value sections according with the addition symbols. And now we have 4 different rectangular objects within our place value sections that will be solving partial products within each one. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's do some multiplication here. The first box over here, we're going to be multiplying 60 times 40. Go ahead and write it out with me. 60 times 40 is equal to 24 plus 2 zeros brings us to 2,400. This box over here, we're going to be multiplying 7 times 40. Go ahead and write that out and then solve. 7 times 40 is equal to 280. This next rectangular box right here, we're going to be multiplying 60s at the top and 3s at the side. So 60 times 3 is equal to 180. And then our last box here, 7 is at the top, 3 is at the side. 7 times 3 is equal to 21. We have 4 partial products now. Our next step is going to be adding the 4. So on underneath, I'm going to be doing it. Remember, line up your place values very neatly and very carefully. Make sure all the place values are stacked correctly. So we have 2,400 plus 280 plus 180 plus 21. Does yours look like mine? Go ahead and solve. Did you get 2,881? Check your work with mine. Okay, so we just solved 43 times 67 using place value sections method to arrive at our product of 2,881. Keep that on your whiteboard. And on the other side, we're going to solve using the method called place value rows. Okay, so here's the process on how to solve with place value rows. We're also going to be drawing a rectangular diagram, but it's going to be a little different. So watch as I do it. So my rectangle is going to be a little less wide, but about the same length. And with place value rows, we're going to keep one factor the same. And then the other factor, we're going to break it into its place value sections. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to choose to keep 67 the same. So I'm not going to do anything to 67, and I'm going to write it at the top. So 67, I didn't break it apart into its place values. Go ahead and write that at the top just like I did. But I am going to break 43 into place value sections. So here's what we're going to do on the side. It's going to be really similar to our place value sections. We're going to put 40 to represent that 4 tens plus 3 ones. 40 plus 3 is equal to 43. Okay? And then we're going to be solving using the place value rows in which we're going to have only 2 partial products. And to separate our rectangle, we're going to look at that addition sign and draw a line wherever there's an addition sign. So there's only one here. So just one line to separate it into 2 pieces. And now we're going to solve. So at the very top, we have one factor of 67 times the factor on the side is times 40. So within your first piece, we're going to write out 67 times 40. And we're going to stack it vertically just like that. Does yours look like mine? And we're going to solve. So 67 times 40, I noticed that 40 has a 0 in it. And I'm going to go back to our rule that we've been following. If a factor has a 0 in it, we're going to ignore the 0 and then add it in. Okay? And now that we're getting a little better with that rule, we're actually going to add the 0 in right away so that our place values are all lined up correctly. So looking at 67 times 40, I know our answer is going to end in 10, and that 10 is going to be in our ones place. So in our answer or in our product, go ahead and add in a 0 right now. And we can even cross out that 0 so we can keep track of our work. And now our next step, we're going to be multiplying 67 times 4. 67 times 4. Again, that 4 represents 4 tens, but we already have the 0 in the 1 spot. So our first step is we're going to be multiplying 7 ones times 4 tens. So 7 times 4 is 28. We're going to put a 2 above our 6 and an 8 in our product. That's going to be in the 10 spot. Next step is multiplying 6 times 4, which is equal to 24, plus the 2, which is equal to 26. And since that's our last multiplication sentence or fact to do, we're going to put the whole answer there, 2,680. And I'm going to put a comma between the 2 and the 6 so I keep track of my place values. All right. That portion is done. Let's keep going. This portion down here, we're going to be multiplying the factor at the top, which is 67, times the factor at the side, which is 3. So nice and neat, just like I'm doing, 67 times 3. Let's do it. 7 times 3 is 21. So we're going to put a 1 in our 1 spot, 2 above the 6. 6 times 3 is equal to 18, plus 2 is equal to 20. And we arrive at our product, our second partial product of 201 here. Just like with the place value sections, the next step, we have 2 partial products here. So we're going to add them together to get our final product. So underneath yours, just like I'm doing, we're going to stack our 2 partial products and we're going to add them together. 2,680 plus 201. Does yours look like mine? Great, go ahead and add them. And did you get 2,881 as your product? Great job. And you will notice that's the same answer we got with our place value sections. Same answer, same multiplication sentence, just 2 different methods of solving. And again, you are required to know how to do both of these methods, but soon it's going to be up to you to decide which method you prefer to solve your problems with. Okay? The place value sections, there's pros and cons of which one you choose. The place values rows becomes a little more manageable, especially as we get into bigger numbers. For example, 3-digit number times a 3-digit number, it would be more manageable. It's basically less steps or less partial products to be solving with, because these addition sentences get pretty long with the place value sections. All right, thank you for following along. You will notice when you open up your book, what I'd like you to do, keep that on your whiteboard and take a look. Open up your book to page 125. Page 125 in your activity book. And you will notice that in the book is the place value rows solving for the same problem we just did, 43 times 67, and all the work is there for you in your book to refer back to. Keep that work on your whiteboard and let's solve for numbers 1 and 2 on this page. Number 1 says, explain the steps of the place value rows method. Well, I'll start you off. First, we kept one factor the same and wrote it at the top of the rectangle. Then we broke the second factor into place value sections. So first we kept 67 the same. Then we looked at the other factor of 43 and we broke it up into 40 plus 3. Then we multiplied and got 2 partial products. And then finally, we added the 2 partial products. So those are the steps. We're going to keep the one factor the same, so we don't break it apart. We just label it on one side or at the top. We break the second factor into place value sections. We multiply. Then we get 2 partial products, and then we add the 2 partial products. You can put it into your own words if you like. Just make sure you're using that academic vocabulary. And once you have this done, let's move on to number 2. All right, number 2 says, how is the place value rows method alike and different from the place value sections method? So let's go on back to your whiteboard, take a look. How are these methods similar? How are they different? Think about it, gather your thoughts, and let's share out. All right, I'm sure you came up with several different ways that they're alike and similar. Here's just one example. In the place value rows, you only multiply 2 times to get 2 partial products. And in the place value sections, you multiply 4 times and get 4 partial products. Okay, so you can use mine and then add on to it if you like. You can write your own differences and similarities that you found. Go ahead and answer number 2, and we're going to move on to learning to practice more of this.